Hello everyone, welcome to part 3 of ManageEngine OpManager's retraining series. The goal of this training session is to simplify network monitoring and help you utilize OpManager in the best way possible. I hope this objective gets met by the end of this session. I would also like to let you know that there are a group of panelists with us today. Please feel free to raise your queries on the chat panel and they will be happy to answer all your questions right away. Before we move ahead with the presentation, I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm Adin Sachin Lewis, working for OpManager for more than a year now. And today I'll help you take a simple approach to alerts, reports, and network mapping. I am glad to meet you all in this training session. Today is the third part of this training session. On January 25th, on January 18th, we discussed network discovery in detail. On January 25th, we saw network monitoring in detail. And on the following week, that is February 8th, we will wrap up this four-part training series after discussing OpManager's powerful add-ons and diverse integrations. And today, we will talk about alerts, reports, and network map. Please note that all these four parts happen in two different time zones. One is 6 a.m. GMT and the other is 11 a.m. EDT. So depending on your convenience, you can attend either of the sessions. Also note that we will be sending you a copy of the training video along with the presentation by tomorrow for your future reference. So without any further ado, let us get into part 3, alerts, reports, and network mapping. Let's take a quick look at today's agenda. First, we'll discuss alarms and severities. Next, we'll configure thresholds, and then we'll talk about adaptive thresholds, which is an AI-powered monitoring aid to intelligently manage thresholds. We also discussed this in our previous session. Then we'll talk about passive monitoring techniques like SNMP traps and syslogs, and then we'll talk about the various notification channels. After which, we'll move to network visualization through various maps in OpManager. Finally, we'll conclude this session after talking about OpManager's out-of-the-box. So let's begin with alarms right away. Alarms will inform you if something goes wrong on your network instantly so that you can take immediate corrective actions. Here's a visual representation of the severity levels OpManager has. OpManager supports four severity levels: attention, trouble, critical, and service down, followed by clear. Severity basically tells you how serious the issue is for which the alarm is raised. These have been color coded to help you understand the severity of the issue just by looking at the color codes in the notification. So each severity is associated with a specific color: yellow for attention, orange for trouble, red for critical, purple for service down, and green for clear. Now these are predefined colors and note that they cannot be changed. Let me demonstrate this for you in the product. So let's click on the alarms tab. And here you have a list of the alarms that have already been generated. And here you can group the alarms based on their categories. So if you click on the red circle here, you can see all of the critical alarms that have been raised. And if you click on the purple circle here, you can group them along with the service down and alarms that have been raised as well. So if you click on a particular alarm, so you can see a filter for the list of the particular alarms. So you can see the recent alarms that have been raised. You can see the options to execute a workflow if necessary, and we will be looking at how to set up a workflow in this presentation as well. You can test an action, you can check the availability, you can choose to unmanage this alarm, or you can choose to configure a notification profile for this alarm. And over here, you can choose to acknowledge the alarm, you can choose to clear it, or you can also choose to delete this alarm if necessary. So if you want to look at alarms on a device basis, just click on inventory and click on critical and click on a particular device. So you can see the recent alarms that have been raised and you can see the status of the device right here. So this is all there is to talk about alarms in OpManager. So let's go on to thresholds now. Now you might have this question now that we talked about alarms. What is the criteria for these alarms to be triggered? So alarms are generated when a threshold or a specific condition you define is violated. Now, what exactly is a threshold? Thresholds are numerical values that you set for certain important monitors in your devices. For example, let's say you have a critical server in your network. Now, if CPU utilization for that particular server shoots up, then it may affect the applications and services that depend on the server, and eventually the performance of the server goes down. Now, for this, let's say you set a threshold limit for the server's CPU utilization to be 60% for attention severity. And when the actual utilization exceeds 60%, an attention alarm will be triggered. So using this, you can proactively identify network issues and resolve them before a device goes down and affects the end user. So let's see how to do this in the product. So you have two methods to set thresholds in OpManager. You can set them either on a device level or on a monitor level. Now, if you want to configure a threshold for a large number of devices, just click on settings. And once you click on device template, you have all the different templates here. So let's click on a particular template. And here you have all the different monitors. You can see the thresholds section right here. So if you click on edit thresholds, you can choose to set up a certain thresholds for these particular metrics. So let's set up one for disk utilization. Once you click on save, you set up a threshold for this particular monitor. So now when you add a Windows 10 device to OpManager, it will automatically set up the disk utilization as the thresholds that we've enabled just now. Now, if you want to configure alarms thresholds for individual devices, just go to inventory, click on a particular device, go to monitors, just click over here. So you have the average disk latency, and let's set up a threshold for this. So once you click save, you've now enabled a threshold for a particular monitor for a single device. So this is how you set up thresholds for devices on a monitor level and individual devices at a monitor level. So let's go back to the presentation. So now that we've seen how to set up manual thresholds, the next topic we're going to talk about is an extension of manual thresholds, and these are adaptive thresholds. So with manual threshold configurations, you know that you need to configure the values manually depending on the criticality of each device. But with the adaptive thresholds feature, OpManager analyzes the past performance patterns of various monitors using the power of machine learning and forecasts reliable values for your excuse me. But with the adaptive thresholds feature, OpManager analyzes the past performance patterns of various monitors using the power of machine learning and forecasts reliable values for your monitor thresholds and dynamically updates the values depending on the work. Now, let's say that you set up the CPU utilization for attention at 80%. Now, generally, this value would be applied for 24 hours, all days in a week. But in real time, your workloads may vary. For example, on Monday mornings, the utilization level may be around 70%, and on weekends, it may go lower than that. Let's say 10%. So giving a constant threshold value all 7 days of a week will not be that effective. So by enabling adaptive thresholds, OpManager calculates a highly useful forecast value for that monitor and dynamically updates the value every hour without you having to specify a constant value. Now let's say, for example, on applying adaptive thresholds in our previous cases, OpManager sets the threshold value for Mondays at 80%, and during weekends, it adapts to a lower value depending on the past performance analysis. Now, please note that OpManager requires at least 3 days of performance data to start providing forecast values. The best practice we recommend is not enable adaptive thresholds as soon as you install OpManager. Instead, give OpManager a week's time and allow it to collect past performance data from which adaptive thresholds work effectively. So let's go to the setup and let's click on settings, and under monitoring, just click on monitor settings. And here you have the adaptive thresholds section. So to enable adaptive thresholds, just click on this checkbox here. And right now, adaptive thresholds support CPU utilization, memory utilization, and response time. We are working on expanding this feature to all other metrics as well. So if you click on advanced settings, you can set the deviation values right here. So once you specify the deviation values for each severity, OpManager will add the forecast value to the deviation value. And when the monitor exceeds the summation of the deviation and the forecast value, an alert is generated. So to be more clear, for example, if the forecast CPU utilization value is 70% and the attention, trouble, or critical deviations are set to 10, 15, and 20 respectively, an alert with the criticality attention will be generated when the value of CPU utilization exceeds 80, that is 70 plus 10, and so on. You can see how that works in the help card that we provided right here. You can see the forecast values change for every hour depending on the previous hour's performance. So now that we talked about adaptive thresholds, let's start talking about SNMP traps. So far we've looked at how to be proactive when it comes to setting up alerts in OpManager. We talked about manual and adaptive thresholds. So SNMP traps is a passive monitoring mechanism. So SNMP traps help you to monitor remote devices, and you can basically get trap notifications automatically for specific events happening in that machine. And you don't need to poll a device every time. For example, let's consider a printer that is being remotely monitored by OpManager using its SNMP monitoring feature. So when an error occurs, let's say a paper jam, for example, a trap is instantly generated in the printer and sent to OpManager, which in turn converts it into an alarm to notify the user. Now you might ask this question. So last week talked about monitoring in detail, and if this traps is about monitoring, why didn't you mention it in that? So as we saw last week, OpManager uses conventional polling mechanisms to fetch device availability and other details. Now, if I set a polling interval of 15 minutes to a critical server in my remote hub office, if the polling happens at 10 a.m., the next polling would be at 10:15, right? Now, if the device temperature is shooting by an insane degree, can you imagine waiting for the next 14 minutes to get a status? No, right? And that's where SNMP traps come into play. This basically is the process. And now let's talk in detail about it by looking at it in the product. So let's click on settings and let's click on SNMP trap processors under monitoring. So you have all these different trap process set up already. So OpManager receives and passes SNMP traps based on trap processing rules to create more meaningful alarms. You can load trap processors from an MIB file provided by the vendor. You can also specify a match criteria, and if that particular criteria is met, you can configure it to generate an alarm. We also have a trap viewer option that allows you to filter incoming traps and view the traps that OpManager receives. So to add a new trap, just click on add. So you can add from SNMP V1 trap or SNMP V2, V3 trap. So to add a new trap processor manually, just provide details like the name, provide the trap OID. You can provide the var bind to match the criteria for OpManager. Now, if you want to add an SNMP trap processor using MIB browser, just click on from MIB, or under actions, you can choose to load from MIBs. So just click on Juniper MIB, click Save to add a new SNMP trap processor to OpManager. So before I move on to the other features in SNMP trap process, let me just talk a little more about the var binds. So these are a variable number of values that are included in an SNMP packet, and each var bind is made of a triplet, an OID and a type value. So now let's go on to the other features within the SNMP trap processor section. So if you click on the trap settings, you can choose enable trap processing. You can provide the trap port. And here you can choose to limit the SNMP traps for Alien component or by devices. And here you can select the devices that you want to generate SNMP traps for. So just click on save to save these details. And if you click on trap viewer, so if you click on trap viewer, you can just click on the incoming filter option. You can select a device. You can provide the OID here. You can select the SNMP version, provide the credential. And once you click on apply and click on start, OpManager, you'll be able to view the traps that OpManager is receiving within this section. And here, of course, you can view the trap alarms generated in OpManager. So now let's talk about syslogs. Now, syslog monitoring is another passive monitoring mechanism to complement the continuous and active SNMP monitoring done throughout the network. OpManager provides a role-based method of reading incoming syslogs and helps you raise alarms based on specified criteria and helps you associate to these syslogs to notify the required network personnel. So let me show you how this works in the product again. Let's go to settings, and under monitor, we have syslog rules. We have the different syslog rules already added here. To add a new syslog, just click on add and provide details like the rule name, description, provide the facility name. You can choose the severity of the syslog, provide the match text, the alarm message. And under advanced rules, you have the number of occurrences and the time interval. Now, to understand what this is, let's take an example. Let's say you have a couple of failed logins. Now, that two or three might be normal. But let's say you have 50 failed logins within a few minutes. Now, that is a potential security incident. You can use the alarm advanced rules right here to generate an alarm in that case. And you can choose to clear or rearm the event right here. Just provide severity and the match text again. So this is all that we need to know about syslogs. Now let's talk about alarm escalation tools. Now there are times when we may miss alarms altogether, and these could eventually lead to an unplanned outage or an unexpected downtime. Now using OpManager, you can avoid the unattended alarms, especially the critical ones, by escalating to a senior level manager or another backup IT admin to prevent it from going noticed. These escalations can be sent via emails or SMS messages when an alarm is unattended for a specific period. That is, you could set an escalation time period. You can, of course, set this time frame based on internal SLAs. You can run this check regularly and trigger notifications. So let me just show you how to set this up in the product. Click on settings again. And under configuration, you have the alarm escalation rules. So I already have two rules that have been added. So to add a new one, just click on add rules. So to add a new rule, just provide the rule name, provide the alarm severity, the category. You can choose to filter it by business views if you have one. Now you can choose to set up when you want the alarm to be escalated. If it's not cleared within hours or minutes, you can choose when you want to run this check. And you can choose to exclude acknowledge alarms. Now, when you want to be alerted about this alarm escalation, just enable the any email tab, or if you want to be alerted by an SMS, enable the SMS tab, or you can even choose both if necessary. So just provide the to and from email address and the mobile number. And once you click on save, when the alarm is escalated, you will be notified by it. So when I talked about alarm escalation rules, I talked about setting up notifications. So now let's talk about the various notification channels you can receive these alerts through in OpManager. Now, even as a network administrator, you need to agree that you cannot keep looking at OpManager's UI for alerts. Now, for this reason, we have something called the notification profile in OpManager. Here you can configure the medium through which you want to receive your alarm details. You have various channels like emails, SMS, webhooks, or you can choose to raise these alarms as tickets through ticketing applications like Service Desk Plus and Resolve the Alarm. So let's see how to set this up in the product. Let's click on Settings. Under Notification, you have Notification Profiles. So if you click on Add, these are the various types of channels that you can receive alarms through in OpManager. So let's just start with email. But before we start, you first need to set up a mail server in OpManager. So let's go back to settings. Under general settings, click on mail server settings. So you can set up a primary and a secondary mail server. Provide details like the server name, the port, timeout. Provide the from and to mail ID. You can choose what authentication type you want. Provide the username and the password if necessary. And you can choose secure your connection through SSL or TLS. And if you want to check whether the mail connection is working properly, you can use the send test email option and click on save to set up a mail server for OpManager. Now let's go back to notification profiles. Click on email. So you have the details already added here. You can choose to receive it through plain text, HTML, or both. Provide the subject, select a subject variable and a message variable if necessary. And again, you can choose a test action here to check whether the mail is being received properly. Click on next, and here you have the criteria. So you can choose what you want to be alerted to. So I'm going to take a device down, and I want to be notified when the alarm is clear. So I can choose to be notified only when the severity is critical, trouble, attention, or service down. So click on next, and here you can select the devices that you want to receive email notifications for. Click next, and you can choose when you want to receive this email notification. Excuse me. You can choose to apply this profile 24/7, or you can choose a specific time window. Click next, provide name. You can choose to test the action here for a last time if you want, and click on save to add a new email notification to OpManager. So this is how we set up an email notification for OpManager. Now let's talk about logging tickets to help desk. So you can configure the notification profile and also send alerts to ticketing tools like Service Desk Plus, ServiceNow, Service Cloud, or Jira. Once the alert is generated, the ticket will be raised automatically in Service Desk Plus and can be assigned to a particular technician with a well-defined priority. Now let's say you have a critical server in your headquarters and any fault the server must be quickly fixed, right? So with this integration, you can assign a task to a particular person like Mr. Adam if any fault occurs in your servers or in your headquarters with a defined priority. Now, if the alarm is addressed and closed in OpManager, the ticket will also automatically be closed in SDP. So I'll just briefly look at it. Let's go to settings, notification profiles, click on add. So if you click on log a ticket, you have the option to set up SDP ticket right here. You can choose from ServiceNow, Jira Service Management, or Service Desk Cloud as well. So let's go back to our presentation. And now let's talk about workflow. Now you may want to perform routine maintenance tasks or repetitive troubleshooting steps for faults in your network, but just think about how much time you can save only if you could automate such tasks. For that reason, we have a powerful feature in OpManager called Workflow. It is a code-free automation mechanism that allows you to automate your routine actions easily with just the drag and drop method. So let's go to the product and let's click on workflow. So I already have particular workflows already added. So to create a new one, just click on new workflow. So to add a new workflow, just click on File. Let's click on Next. Let's check. Let's add the Get File Size option. Let's provide the file size. And let's enter the delete file option. So now that we've provided the set up a workflow, let's look at how to set it up for a device. Let's click next step. Choose the devices you want to set it up for. Click on next. Now here you can configure a trigger for the workflow. So you can also check the severity. You can also select the severity here. So if we click on next, provide a name. You can choose when to apply this profile. You can set up a delayed trigger and a recurring trigger option for this workflow as well. And once you click on save, you successfully set up a new workflow for OpManager. Uh, so now that we've seen how to set up a workflow in OpManager, so this is how a full workflow looks. So now let's talk about the root cause analysis feature. So in network monitoring, troubleshooting faults and getting to the root cause of issues is very important. If you cannot locate the cause of an issue quickly, you will not be able to resolve the network problem, and this can effectively increase the MTTR. This can cause serious consequences like revenue drop, unhappy customers, and a lot more. To avoid this, you need to analyze faults and get to the root cause of issues as fast as possible. To achieve this objective, we have released this feature called root cause analysis. Now, troubleshooting a service down issue for a particular device is easy. But what if an entire network site that has multiple devices goes down? You need a mechanism to analyze the performance of multiple devices. Now, with this RCA feature, you can analyze performance trends of multiple metrics from the same devices or multiple devices in a centralized window. You can visualize the monitor performance in the form of graphs by simply dragging and dropping the metrics and populating them in a single console to correlate and analyze issues and narrow down the root cause. Now, to create a new RCA profile, just select the Alarms tab and click on Root Cause Analysis. You already have a root cause set up here. So let's click Create a new RCA profile and select the devices, apply the filter. Once you click on Next, let's select the particular metrics that we want. So you can also see the alarms that have been raised for these monitors. Just click on Expand here, and you can see the alarms raised. So you can also add annotations and record your references if necessary. And as you can see, you can compare monitors from different devices just by dragging and dropping them. So having all of this in a single window helps you correlate and analyze issues, thereby allowing you to narrow down the issues quickly. And depending on the time that you choose, the monitoring data will also be fetched. So if you want to save this RCA profile, provide a name for it first. Just click on save, and you set up a new RCA profile in OpManager. Now let's say that the same problem pops up again. So if you click on the RCA profile, so if you click on the edit icon in the RCA profile, you can choose to either mark it as resolved, or if the issue has popped up again, you can choose to reopen this particular RCA profile by clicking on the reopen section button again. Just click save, save the RCA profile. So this is another sample RCA profile. So now let's move on to data collection manager. Now, a data collection manager feature in OpManager is a watchdog that helps improve polling efficiency by reducing unnecessary polling load on your OpManager server. Now let's take an interface like Ethernet and assume we are polling it for data once every 5 minutes. If the monitor responds, it remains in a normally monitored state. However, if we fail to get a response for say 6 hours, it is moved to a suspended state. And if we still try to poll the device during a delayed polling interval of say once every 5 hours for the next 7 days or so, then it will be moved into the disabled state. So let's go to the product and see how the DCM works. So let's click on the support icon right here, click on diagnostics, and here you have a list of all the monitors that have been suspended. You can check on the failed interfaces here and the failed credentials here. So if you want to check the response of the monitor, if the monitor has started responding, just click on test monitor. So you can see where the monitor is responding from here. You can also choose to stop monitoring it, or you can choose to delete the monitor as well. And if you click on settings, here you can choose when to suspend the poll. You can choose, now the default will be 6 hours, but if you want to, you can reduce the time up to 3 hours, or you can increase it up to 12 hours. You can choose when to say the delayed polling interval kicks in. Again, the same 3 to 12 hours. You can choose to retry polling when you can choose to retry polling if you want, or you can also choose to disable the polling after 7 days here. And if you want if you want to schedule a report on the diagnostics, just provide your email address and choose which monitors your interface or credentials you want to send reports for. Just click on save to set this up. So this is how the data collection manager works. So now let's move on to maps. Now this is an interesting feature provided by OpManager that allows you to visualize a network infrastructure over a map so that you can get a clear picture of the geographical distribution of your network devices. With complete visibility into your network, you can locate faulty devices easily. Now we have two types of maps, Google Maps and Zoho Maps. If you have a Google account, you can create Google Maps and visualize them in a Google Map. And if not, you can use Zoho Maps, which is available for free. Now let's go to the product. Let's see how this works. Let's click on Maps. So you can see Zoho Maps here. So to add a new device, all you need to do is double click on a particular section. So I've already added 3 devices here. So you can see what status those devices are in by the color of the location pins. And if necessary, you can also choose to add Google Maps in OpManager. So now let's talk about a business view. So when you have a distributed network, you can use the business view feature and visualize your devices based on the business needs they cater and populate them on customized patterns, depending on your preference. You can get complete visibility into the health status of devices, interfaces, or individual sites and the traffic between nodes. So to see how a business view looks in OpManager, once you click on Maps, just click on Business Views. So this is how it looks in OpManager. So if you want to create a new business view, just click on Add. You can select the background image according to your preference. And you can set up the devices according to their location. So once you click on Save, you've set up a new business view in OpManager. You can change the name of the business view. Business view in OpManager. And now let's talk about the rack and 3D flow views in OpManager. Now, monitoring your data centers can be a great challenge because data centers are increasingly complex with so many devices in various racks. Now, using this rack and 3D floor view feature, you can visualize your entire data center and get a multi-dimensional view to simplify monitoring. This is especially useful for remote monitoring, and in case of faults, you can easily pinpoint where the issue is and inform the network engineer at the site to fix the issue in the particular rack. Now, let's see how the racks look in OpManager. So let's click on this rack. This is how it looks in OpManager. So if you click on the applications rack, you have this. So you can see how the different racks have been placed. And if you click on the 3D floor views, you have a visual representation of those racks right here. So these are the racks that we set up. And this is how they are represented in a 3D floor view. So I hope you understood how the racks and the 3D floor views work in OpManager. So now let's talk about the dashboard and NOC view. So dashboards in OpManager allow you to get a bird's eye view of what's happening in your IT environment. We have multiple built-in dashboards and 150 plus widgets with the option to create custom dashboards. And this includes widgets that show the availability, downtime, and after the latest update, disk utilization. So let's see how to set up a custom dashboard in OpManager. So these are the details that you can see from the dashboard. To set up a new one, just click on the sandwich icon right here. Click on New Dashboards and set up. So 150 plus widgets for you to select to choose from. To add a new dashboard, just start selecting the widgets. Just click on Next. You can choose which user you want to make sure this is visible to. So once you click on Create, you can create a new custom dashboard for OpManager. And these will include all of the widgets that I selected in the dashboard. So now as for a NOC view helps you monitor entire networks from the network operations center. You can choose the dashboards that you want to view, and OpManager will create a NOC view with a dashboard and present them alternatively based on the refresh rate that you provide. So you have under dashboard, you have the knob view. You can choose to create a new knob view necessary. Just provide a name. You can choose the refresh interval and the dashboards you want present in that knob view. And once you click on create knob view, OpManager will create a knob view to help you monitor the entire network. Now let's see how a knob view looks in the setup. So once you click on the knob view, this is how a knob dashboard will look in OpManager. So now let's talk about the reports section, reports feature in OpManager. In today's fast-paced environment, decision-making needs to happen in an instant. For you to accomplish that, you need process data in the form of actionable. OpManager stores monitoring data of your network, and you can access them in the form of reports. You have 100 plus built-in reports that are categorized for easy access of information. So for people who attended our last session, we might remember that we talked about how OpManager provides specific reports for certain features in OpManager. So these are all the types of reports that are available in OpManager. So apart from the default reports that OpManager allows its users to create, we can also create reports covering multiple categories. There are certain business needs that require you to create your own custom report different data points. Now, in that case, you can use OpManager's advanced reports feature to mix and match metrics and generate reports that provide insights just the way that you want. So for that, under the OpManager section, just click on advanced report, click on create new report. You can choose what module type you want. You can choose the properties. You can choose performance monitors. You can choose specific devices, device types. You can choose to group them by columns if necessary, and you can apply criteria. And once you click on save, you can create advanced reports in OpManager. If you click on preview, you can see a preview of how this report will look in OpManager. Now let's go back to the presentation and let's talk about forecast reports. Now, you know about the various types of visualization features in OpManager. And again, for people who attended the last section, we did talk about forecast monitoring when it came to specific devices in OpManager, but this is a little different. So now we're about to get to the AI-powered feature that is forecast reports. So forecast reports allow you to predict the resource utilization of your infrastructure. All it needs is 3 to 14 days of your device's usage patterns, and you can predict the time it might take for your infrastructure to deplete its existing resources. So let's see how this looks in the product. Let's click on reports, and OpManager, just click on forecast reports. So you can see what our forecast reports are available for. You can monitor forecasting trends. You can monitor CPU forecast, memory forecast, and disk forecast. You can now, if I click on monitor forecasting trend, so you can see the forecast trend for the next 24 hours. You can also choose for the next 7 days or for the next 14 days, or even set up a custom time period if necessary. Just like I showed you how to set up a forecast monitor, in specific devices last time. So here you can view the amount of time it can take to exhaust these percentage of resources. On to part 3 of OpManager's free training season. So let's see some of the questions that have been asked frequently. So how do I suppress alarms for devices in OpManager? Now you can suppress alarms for devices in OpManager by just going to inventory. You can choose the devices here, click on the three-dotted button, select suppress alarms, and you can choose the specific time periods, or you can set up a custom time period. So you can see that the alarms have been suppressed for this device right here. So can I have multiple business hours configured in reports? Yes. Now let's say you want to get memory utilization reports for critical storage devices between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. on working days. Or let's consider Middle East business hours where they might need the report between Sunday and Thursday, excluding their weekend. Now let's see how that works in OpManager. Let's click on reports. Under report settings, you have the business hour rules. Click on that. Just click on add rule, add a new one, provide the name, and here you can set the time settings when you want. So you can choose which days of the week you want to receive reports. So how do you filter devices in maps? It's pretty simple. Just click on maps, and if you click on the dialog box here, you can choose to filter the devices that you want. And where do I configure SDP settings? So as you already know, you can configure notification profile and send alerts to ticketing apps like SDP, ServiceNow, or Jira. So like I showed you previously, just click on settings, notification, click on notification profile, click on log a ticket, and you have the option to set up SDP, ServiceNow, Jira Service Management, and SDP Cloud as well. We have listed our solutions in review platforms like Gartner Peer Insights and Capterra. We encourage customers to review us on these platforms, review our solutions, and win an Amazon gift card. If you want to learn more in detail about OpManager, you can sign up for this certification and become an OpManager associate. The bonus is that for all participants who attend all 4 sessions without fail, we will grant you access to the certification program, which is worth $49 for free. Once you pass the certification test, you will be awarded with OpManager's associate level certificate. So OpManager is now at 5PS compliant in compliance with the new regulations issued by the US government. And we are also LAMA compliant in accordance with the new regulations issued by SEBI. OpManager will now report technical glitches within the time period specified and provide a detailed RCA to the official email address. You can find more resources of OpManager's feature videos in our YouTube channel, ManageEngine ITOM. You can also please subscribe to the channel if you do not want to miss all the latest videos of the product. You can also learn more on how to use our products from our help pages. Please use the link given here. You can also participate in our online forum and let us know your opinions and queries about the product. If you need further help, please mail to us in the given mail ID or call us in any of the numbers. We also have a Reddit page where we post product-related updates for all of our ITOM suite of products. Please follow us on Reddit and never miss an update. Our managing ITOM is also connected on LinkedIn. Please follow us to gain exclusive insights in the state of ITOM, learn about any upcoming events, stay up to date on our latest product updates, and you can read customer stories and gain insights on how managing ITOM helps your IT environment. So the next OpManager free training will be on February 8th, and we will look at add-ons and integrations in OpManager. So with this, we are done with the third part of the training series. Thank you for attending the session, and I hope the objective of this training is met.